Hey guys, this is the UFC 325 pre-fight prediction between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes. I give you in-depth detailed predictions on fighters' game plans, possible mindsets, and anything that could affect the outcome of the fight. So, let's get right into it. So let's talk about the first fight between the two. I recently just watched it, as in I just now watched it for the second time, and it is nothing like I remember at all. I think most people probably remember the knockdown that Lopes got over Volkanovski, that right hand that dropped Volkanovski, and then possibly later on in the fight when Volkanovski got wobbled again. I mean, that's what I remember. But I remembered completely wrong. I thought the fight was grueling. The fight went all the way to the decision, and yeah, Volkanovski topped it out, but it was still a pretty good close fight. Watching the fight back, that is not what happened at all. Volkanovski controlled the fight, completely dominated it from round to round, and of course he got caught in moments, but that's what happens when you fight at a UFC level elite competition. The story of the first fight was Volkanovski controlled the pace of the fight the entire time. He out-grappled Diego Lopes. He was the one initiating the grappling, and he was, for the most part, scoring on the outside. He would also come in, and when they did fight in the pocket, Volkanovski got the better of Diego Lopes. That's something that I don't remember either. Alexander Volkanovski kept finding success with this overhand that he would throw. He would throw it almost like a cross, get his head off the center line, but instead of being a cross down the middle, he would throw an overhand. And it landed over and over and over for him during that fight. And Diego Lopes just seemed he didn't adapt to it, didn't find a defense to it, didn't find a way to counter it. Now, when we're talking about Diego Lopes, he had two things that he was trying to score the whole fight. Well, maybe three things. He tried to land the uppercut a lot, which I think we all remember him hitting Volkanovski with. And then he tried to land the left hook. The three punches he likes to throw is the cross, the left hook, and the rear uppercut. And he flows in combination with those three shots. So he may start with the right cross and then come with the left hook. But then the left hook followed by the left hook, it'll be the right uppercut. Or sometimes he likes to feint this uppercut a whole lot. And the reality is, it just seemed like he was too slow to exchange with Volkanovski like that in the pocket. And he doesn't have the arsenal that Volkanovski has on to fight with him on the outside. Now, Diego Lopes did have an opportunity to land that uppercut whenever Volkanovski did throw the overhand and he came in with it. But Volkanovski just seemed to always beat him in the punch when it came to fighting in the pocket. In fact, the only reason he scored the knockdown that we all think of when we think of the fight was because Volkanovski misjudged the distance between the two. So in most of the exchanges, when he was able to back out, he was a little bit too close, and that's what allowed Diego Lopes to land that cross that we all know from the first fight. He tried to go for that same cross multiple times after that as well, and just always missed. So it was a adjustment that Volkanovski made that realized he has to read the distance better than he did the first time, so he don't get caught with that again. Alexander Volkanovski also mixed it up extremely well in the first fight. First round, he grappled and did a lot of damage to Diego Lopes up against the fence. He outstruck him on the outside. Second round was pretty much the same story. And I think the third round, Diego Lopes started to pick up the pace a little bit and tried to really pressure into Volkanovski, which is where he found more success than staying on the outside and trying to fight Volkanovski there. So that was Volkanovski's last fight, and he's had a lot of time off since then. But I actually think that would be a good thing, considering that before then he got knocked out cold twice, and sometimes taking a break is a little bit better than, you know, being as active as you possibly can. And I think for specifically, the break is going to benefit Volkanovski this time. Now, if we're looking at Diego Lopes's last performance, I actually predicted him to beat Gene Silva, and you could still see that on my TikTok. The date's still there. I had it correct from the get-go. I thought Gene Silva was going to come in, because whenever he strikes, he tends to kind of lunge in a little bit with his strikes, and his shot recovery from his punches is not very good at all. It's very sloppy. And I figured that he was going to rush in and Diego Lopes was going to catch him with an overhand, similar to the overhand that he threw against Brian Ortega, and knock him out cold. What I didn't expect is that he would catch him with the spinning back elbow that Gene Silva tried many times in that fight. But hey, he still caught him and not knocked him out, but TKO'd him, hurt him really bad. But even though Diego Lopes won that fight, I actually thought he looked bad that fight, worse than he did in the Volk fight. He looked extremely slow. He was so flat-footed. His reaction times was off. He was getting tagged by Gene Silva with everything. And I was actually worried watching it. I was like, please do something. You're just standing there trying to rock'em sock'em robot and you're getting beat up. I was praying for a takedown from Diego Lopes in that fight. And that's a strength that a lot of people don't realize, I don't think, until that fight. Diego Lopes has really, really good jiu-jitsu, but he doesn't really utilize it that much. The only reason I can think of that his reaction times would be off to the strikes and he would be a little bit more sluggish is maybe he was actually working on his grappling more in that fight, because that could mess with your timing. If you're so used to striking and getting out of the way, but you take a break and then really prioritize your grappling, you will be a bit off in your striking. And his grappling looked better than it has in, I think, most of his fights. So who knows? Maybe he was training to grapple Gene Silva. But if we're going off the saying, you're only as good as your last fight, if the Diego Lopes that fought Gene Silva fought Alexander Volkanovski, I think Volkanovski is going to walk out of there with a finish. Now that we're done with the recap of their last fights, let's get into this fight, what their mindsets might be and what their game plan might be and what they can do to find success. And if whoever is going to win, how will they most likely win? Starting with Volkanovski. If Volkanovski wins, it's likely going to be the exact same way as the first fight, but maybe even worse. And I mean worse for Diego Lopes. Alexander Volkanovski strikes me as a high IQ fighter, and I think after being in there with Diego Lopes and taking some time off, really prepping, healing the correct way, I think he'll come back in knowing what to expect, and probably maybe even expect Diego Lopes to come at him a little bit more aggressive, because Lopes found more success in their first fight whenever he was more aggressive. So Volkanovski, knowing that, will probably be able to adapt more to that. He's very adaptable in the octagon. I don't see Volkanovski submitting Lopes. That's for sure not going to happen. I would say he would knock him out, but man, Diego Lopes is a chin of steel. But I think Volkanovski still could knock him out. No one's invincible. And everyone's chin breaks eventually, and Diego Lopes takes a lot of damage in his fights, gets hit a lot. I think the only way that Diego Lopes is getting KO'd is he were to run into one of Volkanovski's punches or kicks or whatever. So Alexander Volkanovski definitely has the decision. He's more likely to win by decision than Diego Lopes is. When it comes to this submission, Alexander Volkanovski's grappling is nothing to be messed with, but let's just be real, he's not a submission artist, and I think just the background of Diego Lopes being more of a jiu-jitsu guy and seeing the positions he has his opponents in when they're on the ground, there's a submission threat there. He could definitely lock some submissions in, and I think he was threatening the rear naked, at least on Gene Silva, and it looked like he was actively trying to go for it. So even though I'm not really sure that will happen, I think Diego Lopes is more likely to win by submission. And to be frank, I think Diego Lopes is more likely to win by knockout as well. So that's 2-1 in the fight. But that doesn't mean that the person that has more ways to win will win. Fighting goes way more in depth than that, and that's what we're going to get into. Like I said just a minute ago, Volkanovski's probably going to come in expecting kind of the similar thing, probably a more aggressive Diego Lopes. And that's really all you can expect when you win like that. He was so many levels above Diego Lopes in that fight that there's not really much he needs to adapt to. If he's going to have to adapt anything, it's going to be whatever Diego Lopes brings to this fight. And then Volkanovski will have to adapt on the spot. That's kind of the disadvantage you have whenever you won in that way, or won in a way such that, I mean, you outclassed the guy, or you were just playing better than the guy. So there's not much adaptability that Volkanovski can make. The only adaptability he could make is maybe a defensive change, but I don't really see that happening. That he's old enough to where his style's ingrained and his flaws are probably there to stay. I could see him being a little bit more aware of Diego Lopes's power, so he may change some decisions based off of that alone. Other than that, I mean, Volkanovski, I see winning the same way. Like if it goes to a decision, I just see him out striking Diego Lopes on the feet. I see him initiating grappling exchanges, and yeah, that's all I really have to say in terms of Volkanovski. Now getting into Diego Lopes and how he could win. Obviously, the obvious one, what I think a lot of people are thinking of, is he catches Volk. And yeah, because I do think Volkanovski's gotten more chinny with age, so it's very possible that Diego Lopes will catch Volk and just knock him out cold, or at least drop him and then jump on him for the TKO. That's the dangerous part about Diego Lopes, is his grappling is so good that if he does catch somebody and they do drop, can they survive if he jumps on you? I think Volkanovski can. He's smart. His grappling is really good too. His defensive grappling. Islam wasn't able to get him. Granted, he wasn't hurt, but I still believe in Volkanovski's instincts at this point, to where if he was hurt, grappling him might not be the smartest idea, just because he's probably knows how to survive. That being said, though, I think Diego Lopes has a good chance in this fight to win if he goes in thinking grappling first, striking second. Let's get Volkanovski worried about the takedown. Let's get him worried about the control time that Diego Lopes has is building up. Like, even if it's just holding up against the fence, it's going to make Volkanovski kind of want to back up a little bit more than he did in the first fight, because he doesn't want to be clinched up and then all wrapped up in exchanges of grappling. That alone will open up the hands more for Diego Lopes. Another way he could do well if he doesn't want to grapple more would just be plain more aggressive, but in a smart way. In the first fight, let's not even talk about the first fight right now. The jab. What he did to Brian Ortega was a smart knockout shot. He jabbed and he set up the overhand and waited till Ortega to come in and then landed. I think Diego Lopes's jab is so good, but he rarely uses it. Like, there's no tell on it, and it seems to kind of sting opponents whenever it does land, but he rarely throws it. It seems like he doesn't want to throw it, and if he does throw it, it's more of like a fencing tactic to like prod opponents back, not really to sting anybody. But when he does throw it to sting you or bust you up, it really works. I just wish he would throw it more. But I don't think he's going to do that this fight. I think he's going to be kind of gun shy like he was in the first fight, and maybe even more so just judging on how he was against Gene Silva. If he fights anything like his last fight, he's going to get picked apart a lot easier than he did in the first fight with Volkanovski. I just don't know if I see Diego Lopes making those extreme changes to how he's going to fight. So, what could the fighters be thinking going into this fight? Starting with Diego Lopes, nerves could be really getting to him. Even if you can't tell, his stomach could be hurting from just the knowing that this guy beat me, and yeah, I had success, and I know I can get him. If I could just get him, I know I can get him. It's not good, because he's preying on that, like, when you start getting that, like, I know I can get him because I caught him that one time, so if I just catch him, terrible mindset. He's gonna just try to plan on catching him. You got to go in on a blank slate pretty much. It's a brand new fight. We've seen rematches that went totally different than the first fight, and that's how you got to kind of look at it. So if Diego Lopes is thinking like that, that's a very, very bad thing for him, and it's gonna probably be a repeat of the same fight that happened the first time if he's thinking that way. Now the other side of that same coin is if he went home and was like, I caught him, and I know what I did wrong, and I know what I can improve on, and I know how to get him now. So I know if I go back in there, I will get him. Now that's the mindset he's got to have. There's confidence. The nerves aren't overtaking. Just the way I said that, if someone's thinking like that, you could tell it's a lot more of a positive note on themselves. There's no questioning of like, oh, I have to get him, and if I don't, then what? You know, they're not asking themselves that if they're letting the nerves take over. When he's thinking, I know I can beat him because I caught him, and if I caught him then, and now if I fight him, then I know I can really get him. Then it's a different tone completely. And if Diego Lopes is thinking like the first mindset we were just talking about, he's definitely losing. There's no way. I haven't watched any of the press conferences, so maybe if y'all have watched it, you guys can judge what his mindset might be based off of that. Volkanovski's mindset's probably exactly the same that it was the first fight, even more confident, which could hurt him as well, because it could make him more overzealous to get in there and strike on the pocket, because he knows he did so well in the first fight, and yeah, I got caught, but you know, it happens. So my Volk impression. But that could actually lead to him getting hurt again and maybe even being finished. But it's better to be a little bit more overconfident, in my opinion, than not. So I really don't see Volk being too nervous for it. I see him just being more prepared mentally. So there's not a lot more questions going through his mind as there will be Lopes, just naturally based off of the first fight. Now, how do I see the fight actually playing out? And then we'll get to what my prediction is in the end, but you might be able to tell. I see the first round going similar to how the first fight went, with maybe Diego Lopes pressuring Volkanovski pretty fast, like back, being a little bit more aggressive, and Volk being more on the back foot than usual, scoring, and then all of us are going to be like, oh sh, like, because Diego Lopes is probably going to be throwing heat in the first round. But it's going to be going into the second round. I think the second round is the round that Volk, if he's going to get caught, I think the second round is going to go worse for Diego Lopes. I think Volk's going to start taking over. Lopes is going to be a little bit more gun shy, but because he is a little bit more gun shy, yet he's still got that aggression in him from the first round. It's going to be a little bit of a perfect mixture between the two. Round 2 is where he has the best chance at catching Volk, because now it's not just pure let's go in there and try to knock him out. Now it's like, well, I got to pace myself now. I missed everything. And then the round 2 is the strongest round that Lopes has to catch Volk and put him away, I think, in my opinion. And he may or may not, but I don't think he will. And I think that Volk's going to take that round as well. But if there is a round 2 win, I think Diego Lopes is most likely, if there's a rounds that he's going to win, Lopes will win round 1 or 2 in this fight, and then Volk's going to take over the rest. Just cruise control his way into a victory, piecing up Lopes, gaining control time against the fence. He'll probably try to shoot in, but I don't think he's going to actually shoot in as much this fight. I think the one that's more likely going to shoot in is Lopes. And I think if he shoots in, it'll be kind of early. It could be in the first or second round. And depending on if he gets Volkanovski down, I think once he gets Volkanovski down once, if he can hold him for the rest of the round, he probably takes it. But I think after the first takedown, he's done. He's probably not going to take down Volkanovski again. He's too hard. Volkanovski will know, oh, I'm not just striking. I got to worry about the takedowns a little bit as well. That will help with Lopes' striking, but overall, I think it won't probably save him from the reality that Volk's probably going to walk away with the belt again. To end this video, I think Volkanovski is going to win a decision once again, and it's going to be more dominant than last time. I think Lopes will have his moments, but probably a little bit fewer than the first fight. So just a more dominant win, more dominant version of the first fight, but for Volkanovski. So that's what I think of how the fight's going to go down. Tell me what you guys think. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, comment down below, and let me know if there's any more content that you guys want to see me make. You know, there's a lot that I can do, and I do like making content, but at the end of the day, I would like making content that I know you guys like just as much as I like making it. So anyway, that's it. I'll see y'all later.